Hey, what's up, guys? Good Man United here, your host, Wild Willie, and we're with the leader today.
Hello, I'm Sturm. Today we're going to be talking about the rare strengths and weaknesses.
So,
But before we start, please follow us on Instagram at Goodman United Clash Royale, and please join us on Discord on the link below.
and as well,
And like and subscribe.
and as well as our Instagram too, Good Man United. It will be in the link in the description. Every single social media that we have is going to be the link in the description if you didn't hear Sturm. And first up,
or, you, or you can just go like on our homepage, press about, and then it would be there, Discord and Instagram on blue. And just click that and you're right there. Easy.
to get updates on everything that's going on with our clan and newest videos.
On
So,
Discord.
yeah, on Discord. So today we're doing rares. We're gonna talk about each rare and talk about their strengths and weaknesses. Our first rare that's up
Is the heal.
is the heal card. So the heal card, I don't like this card at all, but it's very good if you can use it strategically at times for healing, like very like if you have like the Mega Knight down and it's next to the tower and it's almost dead, you can heal that up. Or like with this, the Minion Horde too. But overall, not my favorite card. For one elixir, it's not bad, but overall, it's not my favorite card, and I don't really ever use it.
Now, I think this is the worst spell card in the game. It it only lasts like 2 or 3 seconds, and it doesn't heal much. So I think this is in the top three worst rares in the game. So yeah, our next card would be Ice Golem, which Ice Golem's more of a card just for distraction. It doesn't have many strengths. It's just mostly like it has a little bit of hit points, not much. But like I think the best part about this card is when your enemy destroys it, it like freezes them for a second. So that's not bad, not amazing, not really any strengths or weaknesses. What do you think, Wild Willie?
Overall, it's a good card in my opinion, um, because it's really good for distraction wise, and overall, I like how it freezes, well, slows down the tower a bit, and it could be good for tanking too sometimes. But overall, decent card in my opinion. Our next card that's up would be the Elixir Golem. Probably one of the worst rares in the game, in my opinion, because each when it gets to its like end splitting part, because it has 3 stages. So after this last stage, when it gets killed, it gives elixir to the enemy side, or if you kill it, it gives one elixir. Like there's 4 elixir because there's 4 of them that split to your side, and it's really good if you get the elixir and you can just make a big giant push. But if they kill your elixir golem, they get the elixir, they'll get the elixir and they'll do a big giant push on you, and you can lose very easily. Overall, it's probably the worst card. It does do a lot of damage when it's split up, but it's probably the worst card in the whole game. Well, rare card in the collection of rares.
Yep, everything Wild Willie said is true. I myself do think this is not only one of the worst rare cards in the game, but the absolute worst card in the game. Not a card I would use. And our next card would be Earthquake. And I do like Earthquake. I think it's totally pointless if your enemy has no buildings. It does a lot of damage to buildings, and about 200 damage to the tower, maybe a little more. But it does a little damage, but it doesn't have, it's not air, so I would, myself would just use arrows or anything else really. So probably top 3 worst spells in the game, but it does do a little damage, and if you're, it's totally useless if your enemy has no buildings.
Yeah, like Sturm said, overall, probably one of the top three worst spells. It does do a bunch of damage to buildings, which is really good at times if you do have like a giant or something. You want to get at the tower quickly and you use Earthquake spell to get the buildings disappeared really quickly. But for using it for like even the fire spirits, they don't die like right away and they can get to the tower really quickly. Overall, it's a pretty useless card besides doing a bunch of damage to towers. And yeah, it's worst spell in my opinion. So next card in the lineup on my side would be the Tombstone. And the Tombstone's really good in my opinion. It's a really good distraction card and it's really good for stopping the prince. And it's for how the how the skeletons come out when you kill it, and it can distract a bunch of troops really easily, so you can place down more troops to destroy the other card. So overall, it's a good card in my opinion, and I wouldn't recommend using it, but it's a really good for distraction or annoying opponents. What about you, Sturm? What's your opinion on it?
I think it's an okay card. It has very low health, but it is good for distraction. I myself would just use like the regular skeletons or skeleton army. But yeah, like what Willie said, not bad. And pretty much, yeah, just good for distraction mainly. And the next card on my side would be Dark Goblin. And I do think Dark Goblin is a very good card. It air defense and road defense. It doesn't have much health to it, but it does do pretty good damage. Like even the offense, like even if the tower can like will hit one more time and then it'll die, it still would get at least one more hit up there, which would do about, depending on your level. Mine's level 10 right now, and level 10 does 110 damage, which not bad to the tower. So what do you think? So I think this is a pretty good card. What do you think, Billy?
My opinion, it's a good card. It has a lot of range and it does do a bunch of damage. And the low health on it is yeah, it makes it pretty bad. But overall, it's a really fast card to do a bunch of damage with. And overall, in my opinion, I think it's a good card. So the next card on my side would be the Mega Minion. The Mega Minion. And overall, I think this is a decent card. It's not the best card, but overall, it does have a good amount of HP and it does do a bunch of damage and can really get a lot of opponents down to low HP. But overall, I wouldn't recommend using this card, but for the 3 elixir and how much damage it does, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent. What about you, Stern? What's your opinion on it?
Um, I do disagree with Wild Willie in one thing. I do not think it has much hit points to it. It's pretty low on hit points actually. So I would just use minions myself, but it does do quite a bit of damage, especially if it hits the tower. But I would just use minions myself. And the next card would be Hog Rider, and Hog Rider is one of my in the top 3 rares in the rares, one of the top 3. It does quite a bit of damage. It gets this, and it goes directly to the tower. And I have mine max level right now, and it will go to buildings, but 384 damage for max level, and every time it hits. And this does have a lot of hit points. Pretty good card, and it's really fast too. What about you, Loud Willie? What do you?
My opinion, Hog Rider. Yeah, it's a really good card. It's an annoyance too, but overall it does do a bunch of damage and does go to the tower quickly, and it gets the job done most of the time. And in my opinion, it's a really good card. Probably one of the top 3 best rare cards, like Sturm said. And overall, good card in my opinion. So our next card in my area of rares would be the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Probably one of the greatest rares, and it does a bunch of damage and it has really good HP. And if it can get to the tower, it will literally do so much damage to the tower. And but its weaknesses would be like the Goblin Gain, Skeleton Army, mostly horde wise, and the Minion Horde too. But overall, it's a really good card for like stopping hog riders or stopping really tanky units. And my opinion, it's a really good card. Probably one of the top ones, top rares. What about Eastern? What's your opinion on it?
This actually is my favorite rare card in the whole game. Um, it does do very good with wizards and electro wizards. Even the one of the newer cards, Battle Healer, does good against. And pretty much its brother, his big brother, would be the P.E.K.K.A. And I think it's better than the P.E.K.K.A. because the P.E.K.K.A. is so slow and it does about the same amount of damage. So like if mini P.E.K.K.A. and P.E.K.K.A. would 1v1 each other, the P.E.K.K.A. of course would win, but the mini P.E.K.K.A. would take about half of its health and they hit about the same speed too. So I think it's better than the P.E.K.K.A. Very good card, very fast card, a lot of damage. If you're if you're going against your enemy and you place this and they don't defend, depending on what level your enemy is, so let's say he's level 12 and a level 13 P.E.K.K.A. would destroy one tower. A level 13 tower and a level 13 mini P.E.K.K.A. it would take most of its damage. There would be about 200 damage left. So all in all, my favorite rare in this game, and great card, and I recommend using this card. And the next one on my list would be the Zappies. Not my favorite card. They die pretty easy. Don't have many hit points. It's not the worst rare. It's not in the top 3 worst rares, but I wouldn't recommend it. It does do pretty good against Sparky, Inferno Tower, and stuff like that. And pretty good against the Balloon and cards that go directly to the tower, but since their hit points are so low, there's almost no point of even using them. Because, like, if you fireball them, they'll just die right away. So, I don't like this card. What do you think, Wild Willie?
Overall, what Sturm said, yeah, low HP. Um, doesn't it does do decent damage, but overall, this card is mostly used to stop tower like cards that go to the tower, like the Rail Giant, Hog Rider, or mostly like the Inferno Tower or like the Inferno Dragon. But mostly, if it didn't really have low HP or low hit points, it would be a really good card. But overall, it's not really a good card, and I wouldn't recommend using it. So, our next card on the list that I have on would be the Fireball. And the Fireball is a really good card, but for the 4 elixir, I wouldn't recommend it. I would trade it to End for arrows. But overall, the Fireball can really be a last resort card too if the tower is at low HP, and it can stop a lot of things. But overall, I don't really like this card at all. I would never really use it. Um, it can stop. It can do a bunch of damage to towers and buildings, but overall, it's not my favorite card. And the area damage and everything, it seems it would do more than it says it would. It says it does, but I wouldn't use it. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
Um, I think it's alright. It does pretty good for wizards and electro wizards and stuff, but I also would just swap it for arrows, and so it's just okay. And the next card on my list would be Bomb Tower, and it's not my favorite building. It does do quite a bit of damage. I would rather just swap this card for, um, what do you call it? Hidden Tesla. I would just swap that card for Hidden Tesla because it's not air defense, but it does about the same damage as Hidden Tesla. And the bomb, when you destroy it, does get air defense, I think. Not 100% sure. But not a card I would recommend. It's okay. What do you think, Wild Lily?
Like Sturm said, I wouldn't recommend this card either. But overall, it can be a really good for stopping like the Royale Hogs or something. Um, Overall, it does have has a decent amount of hit points, and it can tank some cards. But for the 4 elixir, it's not really worth it. Besides the damage it can do with like really mostly horde cards. And overall, I wouldn't recommend this card. It's just mostly an annoyance. So, next card on my list would be the Battle Ram. And the Battle Ram's a decent card. It's really good if you have it unsuspiciously and they don't notice. And it does do a bunch of damage, and the two barbarians do a bunch of damage with it. But overall, the weaknesses with it is like the tombstone and mostly a bunch of horde cards wise, or even the wizard can stop it easily. And I wouldn't really recommend this card. It's very easily to stop, and it's not my favorite card either. I wouldn't really recommend this. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
It is pretty easy to defend against, and it's also not my favorite card, so I also wouldn't recommend it. But you use what you want. The next card on my list would be the Battle Healer, which is way better than the heal spell, that's for sure. But you can defend against this pretty easy. It doesn't have much hit points. It does have a little bit, but yeah, I would recommend this card. It's a pretty good card. I like it, but Mini P.E.K.K.A can take it out pretty easy, but it also heals the things around it, so that's pretty good. But it's not a card I would use. What do you think, Wild Billy?
Not a card I would use either. It does have a decent amount of hit points, and it's pretty good if it does do the heal circle, the healing rain. It's all right, but overall, like Sturm said, the mini P.E.K.K.A can stop it, and a lot of horde cards can stop it, and mostly really high attack cards can really stop it really easily. Overall, it's a decent card. I would recommend it if you're doing like on this a minion horde behind it and a battle healer in front to heal the minion horde. Overall, it's a decent card, but I really wouldn't recommend it in my opinion. But what Sturm said, it's really good. Overall, decent card. So, next card on my list would be the Goblin Cage. And the Goblin Cage, I think it's a really good card. It's a building type of card, but um, a decent Goblin Brawler comes out, and it does have a good amount of hit points. It does do a bunch of damage too, and in my opinion, it's a really good card. It can distract the Royal Giant, and it can stop a bunch of tower, well, like the Royal Tower Guiding cards. So overall, it's a really good card in my opinion, and I would recommend this card. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
Everything Wild Billy said, this is probably my top 3 buildings in the game. Actually, my top 3 buildings are all rare in the game, and I would definitely recommend this card. And another one of my favorite buildings in this game would be the Furnace. And the Furnace, if your Furnace is level 12 and your enemy is level 13, it's pretty pointless because your enemy's tower can just take the fire spirits out in one shot. But so that's the only thing I don't like about it. So I wouldn't use this card if you're level 11 or level 12, and if you don't have it level 13. So only use this card, especially like if you're level 11, 12, or 13. Only use it when this card's level 13. Otherwise, it's pretty pointless. But definitely in my top 3. It's pretty good for minion hordes and pretty much anything the fire spirits are good for. What do you think, Wild Billy?
Um, overall, the Furnace, yeah, it's a really good card. Really top buildings, one of the top buildings in the game, and we can stop a lot of things easily, and it could be our last resort too if the Mega Knight's at low health and you have that out still. Overall, it's a really good card. All what Sturm said, he said everything out of my the things that I was gonna say, and it's a really good card, and I would recommend using it. So the next card on my list would be the Musketeer. The Musketeer is decent. Overall, it does have low amount of HP, but overall it can stop a baby dragon and it can stop some other cards. And really, really good. And it does do a bunch of damage, which is the good side about it. Overall, I don't use this card as much, but it's a decent card. But I wouldn't recommend it in my opinion. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
Pretty much everything Wild Willie said. It does do, if you put it like right in the middle of your enemy's territory, it will do some damage about of that other tower that you haven't destroyed yet. But other than that, pretty much everything Wild Willie said. Pretty good card though. And the next card on mine would be Flying Machine. Um, Other than like its low hit points, it's a decent card. It does quite a bit of damage, but nothing I would recommend. Fireball, take it out, easy, minions, minion horde, but it does pretty good against ground troops and like even if it hits the tower full health, it'll do some damage. But not a card I would recommend. What about you, Wild Willie?
Well, Sturm said, yeah, not a card I would recommend. Overall, it does do decent damage, but with the HP and the hit points, I would not recommend it. Overall, it's literally probably one of the worst rare cards in my opinion, but that's in my opinion. You guys can use it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. So the next card on my list would be the Valkyrie. And the Valkyrie is one of my favorite cards. Well, my favorite rare in the game. It has high amount of hit points and it does really good damage. And overall, it can it can it can stop hordes except the minion horde or any type of flying unit that's going
Air
after
defense,
it. Yeah, air defense
air
and
unit.
air unit. But overall, it's a really really good card and it's really good for pushes. And overall, it's a really really good card and it's one of my favorite. It's one my top favorite card.
Yep,
Rare rise in the game.
this card's also in my top three of rares. Um, it does amazing against a wizard, witch, and like there's like three cards that are ground right next to each other. Place the Valkyrie right in the middle of them. It'll pretty much wipe them out or do a lot of damage before they destroy it. So I would definitely recommend this card. And the next card on my list would be the Inferno Tower, which is also in my top three of buildings in this game. Um, Not like top three rare in my top three in this whole game. Oh my gosh, okay. Just top three points in the game. If your enemy like has not many high troops like the P.E.K.K.A. or Golem, it's pretty useless so. But if your enemy does have the P.E.K.K.A. or Golem or something high like that, very handy card, very useful, and something I would definitely recommend. What do you think, Wildboy?
Overall, a really good card. What Sturm said, it's really, really good. And overall, yeah, one of the top
Yeah.
cards in my opinion.
And its weaknesses are like Zap and Electro, Wizard, and cards that Zap, pretty much Zappies even. But if your enemy doesn't have any of those cards, very handy card.
So the next card on my list, I think we haven't said this yet, is the Inferno Tower. And the Inferno Tower is probably a really, really good rare tower too. One of the top rare towers
Well,
in.
we were just talking about that card.
My bad. Okay, I thought we were still talking about the Valkyrie, but okay. Okay, the next card in my deck, so after the Inferno Tower, would be the Goblin Hunt. And the Goblin Hunt, in my opinion, it's probably one of the worst rare towers. But if you can get a bunch of them placed down and have a giant push going on, it can be a really, really good card. But overall, probably it's not the best tower in the game or rare tower, but for the hit points on the Goblin Hut, it can really distract a giant for a long time. Well, for a bit, so you can place down something else to kill the giant really easily. Overall, not my favorite tower. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
Pretty much the same. It's not in my top three worst towers ever, but or buildings ever. But if you place it and your enemy doesn't defend against it, it does some damage to the tower. Other than that, eh, it's just okay. And our next card would be the Wizard, which it's not also not my favorite card. I think it's okay because it does do a lot of damage with minion hordes and other stuff like that, but it dies pretty easy. Like the fireball would take most of its health, and Mini P.E.K.K.A would just destroy it instantly. But other than that, it's alright. But it is a card I would recommend, even though most people already use it. But whatever. What do you think, Wild Billy?
This card, the Wizard, one of the main one of the main cards I use for my deck, and it's a really good card in my opinion. The spread damage, well, the splash damage on it, and the damage it does, it's really good for doing pushes like I do with the giant skeleton and taking hordes away really easily and doing really good damage against some other cards surprisingly in my opinion. And overall it's a really good card in my opinion. I would recommend it, and it could really help you in the nick of time at the same time. And overall it's a really good card in my opinion. So the next card on the list would be the Royal Hogs. And the Royal Hogs are annoying and I don't like it. I hate this card. And this card does really good damage if three of them or four of them can get on your tower. And overall it's a good card to stop buildings and stuff. Um but for the HP it has, they can be easily killed too. But at the same time, if they can get on your tower, they can do a bunch of damage, and it's really an annoying card, and it's not my favorite card, and I really do hate it, and I don't really recommend it. But if you want to be annoying to people, sure, I would recommend it to be annoying with people. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
Should put that. I, I should put that card in my annoying video. But it's pretty much like what William said. It is pretty annoying, but I honestly would just swap this card out for Hog Rider because Hog Rider does more damage. But yeah, it's alright. I would recommend it, but it's alright. My next card would be Giant, which, other than the fact that it does have a lot of hit points, it's not my favorite card. It does a pretty good damage, but it's so slow. It's like so pointless because like buildings would just distract it really easy, and I don't know. Mini P.E.K.K.A take it out easy. But I would also just swap this out for even the Royal Hogs, and especially the Hog Rider. But so not a card I would recommend. Not my favorite, even though the dumbest push ever would be the Witch, and this card that push is so easy to defend against with my deck, but some decks it's probably not. What do you think about it, Willie?
What Sturm said, I would not recommend, but overall with my deck, I use some decks that people have that are against me. The giant does come through in a clutch, in a pinch, and it does do really good damage if you can get to a tower really easy, get to a tower. And overall, I would not recommend this card. It's probably one of the worst types of tanky troops, and it's really slow too, like Sturm said. And overall, what Sturm said, eh, that's all what I would have said too. And it's not my favorite card at all. It's really annoying to me too. So the next card on our list is a really annoying card too, called the Rocket. And the Rocket is really a clutch card for a lot of people. Right, Sturm?
Oh yeah, does a lot of damage.
And this card does a really lot of damage, like Sturm said, and overall can stop cards very easily. But overall, I would only use this card like if a tower is really low and you can do a push and it's at the last second and you have that rocket right there and you can destroy that tower really easily. Overall, it's a really annoying card, and I've seen in my days of playing Clash Royale, so many people won against me using this card. Overall, if you want to win kind of easily, well, most of the time, sometimes use this card, but I really wouldn't recommend it for the high elixir. What's your opinion on it, Sturm?
So Wild Willie explained the strengths, and I'll explain the weaknesses. Now, it probably does have more strengths because of the damage and stuff, but its weaknesses are that if you are losing and your enemy tower has about 200 damage left, and there's about 5 seconds left, you better hurry up and place it because this card takes so long to like hit something. And another thing is his range is very small. How small is it? As
You
a
mean?
two
Oh, do you mean the
radius.
spread wise, like the
Yeah, its radius
radius
is
is?
so small that if you're like, let's say you want to use it on a hog rider, you gotta time it just right. Because if you put it directly on the hog rider while it's still moving, it will miss, and it's very easy because that's a waste of 6 elixir. So the radius is very small, and it takes forever to deploy on a tower. But other than that, pretty good card, and I would recommend this card.
Overall,
And the next
wait. Before you say that, overall, what Stern was saying, it's a very precise card. You have to be very precise on it, and you have to take your time using it too. So, Sturm, what's the next card?
Well, the next card would be the Elixir Collector, and honestly, I think this is the top three worst buildings in this game because if your enemy has Earthquake or Miner, I use Miner. It's a very easy card to defend against, and you only get like how much Elixir do you even get out of it? 6, 7, 8, something like that, and it takes so long for Elixir to even come out of it that like by when you place it, like your enemy can just make a push and pretty much take out a tower before it even gets like 1 or 2 elixir. So not a card I would recommend. What do you think about Billy?
Overall, what Sturm said, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this card. It's easy to get rid of, and for how slow it produces elixir, you would like it would be like a literal like tiny percent chance to be a clutch wise if you want to stop a push. But overall, what Sturm said is all in the right, and mostly this card's really useless, and it's one of the worst buildings in the game.
Yeah, and one more thing about this card is that if your enemy places this card, uh, it usually means they have one of two cards: the elixir golem, not the elixir golem, the regular golem, or the three musketeers. So watch out for those two.
Or it could be Mega Knight, somewhat.
Uh,
So our next card would be the Barbarian Hut. And the Barbarian Hut is very, it's alright, but it's very useless in my opinion. For the HP on the tower, it's really good for like stopping like the golem. But overall, if you're gonna like if you're gonna have this place down and a wizard comes in, the wizard can kill this card. Well, this tower building can really destroy this really easily. And overall, it's alright card. It's probably it's better than some buildings, but overall, I wouldn't recommend it. For the high HP on it to stop the golem and giant and everything like that, and how the barbarians come out and can surround it really easily, I recommend that for using that. But if they have a wizard and you place that down, I think you're screwed, and that's, in my opinion, it's not my favorite card, and I wouldn't recommend it. What about you, Sturm?
Everything he said takes forever for the barbarians to come on the first place, and barbarians are pretty easy to defend against. And the next card would be the Three Musketeers, which is the top three worst rares in this game. For one, it takes like a couple of 2 or 3 seconds to even spawn in the first place, so your enemy can have like that, and that's enough time for your enemy to do something about it, especially if you place it in the middle of their territory when you have a tower destroyed already. And this card is so easy to destroy. Like if you have a fireball, it's practically destroyed already, or any spell really. So I'd rather just swap this out for the regular musketeer because it's 5 elixirs cheap. It's 5 elixir cheaper, and this card's 9 elixir, and that's so expensive. What do you think, Wild Willie?
Overall, yeah, what Sturm said is true, but this card is probably the worst rare, and well, yeah, it is the worst rare, but um, I would use the five, well, the regular musketeer. But overall, if you want to use this card for actually good, it's probably actually with the elixir collector and with it. But overall, it's probably the most like annoying card too, and it can be easily killed. So I think that's every single rare card that we went gone through. I think so, right?
Yeah, it is. So my worst my three favorite would be the mini P.E.K.K.A, the Hog Rider, and the Valkyrie. And my worst three favorite would be the Heal Spell, Three Musketeers, and the next one is not only my one of my the worst three rares in the game, but also the worst card in this game, the Elixir Golem. What about you? What's your three favorite and three worst?
So my three
Wild Willie?
favorite would be the mini P.E.K.K.A, the Valkyrie, and the Wizard. And my three worst cards that I would choose would be the Heal Spell, the Royal Hogs, and my top worst, well, the worst, but not my favorite one, would be the Elixir Golem.
So yeah, please comment your three favorite rare cards in this game and the ones in the three you hate the most, and follow us at Goodman United Clash Royale on Instagram and join our Discord on the link below.
We'll see you guys
And
next.
as always, we'll
Well,
see you next time.
goodbye.